Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 7 of Mo Xuanyu season 2, and it's the penultimate episode before the season ends. So there's that. Usually the penultimate episode is when things get crazy. So I'm a little bit excited, but a little bit nervous because things after last episode, they don't look good. WuXian indirectly was responsible for Zishuan's death. Ning basically killed him. But you know what? I stand by my theory from last episode. Going back and rewatching it, I think there's a trap. There's something is afoot. There was a trap laid. Something doesn't feel right. I just get super suspicious vibes from that entire scene. Like things were just not right. But I also see how everything is going to go downhill from here because of that. Because of what happened. So I also, I don't feel like I've been spoiled, but I feel like someone has connected the dots for me, because let me tell you about this. A lot of you, in the last few episodes, I was like, I think it was back in episode 3, I said, who is this guy in the robes, in the purplish robes? I don't know who he is. He's like his own clan member, what's going on? And a lot of you in the comments and on Patreon were like, oh, go back and rewatch season 1. So I did. Didn't notice anything. I was like, that didn't help me at all. So I felt like it was just going over my head. And then this one YouTuber, KA, has we've been commenting a lot on pretty much every show that I'm reacting to, but they're from Japan and they're watching the Japanese dub of Mo Xuanyu that's been premiering. And so every time a new Japanese dub episode airs, they'll comment on it and let me know how the Japanese dub is, because I can't watch the Japanese dub, but I like to know what's going on and what their thoughts are on the show. And this person was like, they're like, oh, this episode was really good, episode 3. And hey, that guy from the turtle cave is back. Why is he in different robes? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, and then I went back and watched, and they were like, he was in the Water Ghoul episode 2. Went back and watched Water Ghoul episode 4, episode 9 with the turtle. It's that guy. It's that guy. The guy from the Land Clan is him. It's the eye. Somebody else on YouTube commented about the eyebrows. They're like, oh, the eyebrows are a hint. He has the same eyebrows. I was floored. I was like, oh my God, it's him. So yeah, so he's not related to Wangji or Shishin. He's a former Land Clan member that seems to have defected and either joined a different clan or formed a new clan. I want to say he joined a new clan, because even though it's been 16 years, he's got these spies, he's got all these followers. So it's like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, that just floored me. And I feel like it's not really a spoiler, because y'all were trying to give me hints just without saying it, and it was completely going over my head. So I felt like this giant weight was suddenly lifted off my shoulders. I was like, oh my God, thank you. That feels so much better now that I know who that guy is. I still don't know how he's connected to everything, except that he didn't like WuXian. He shot him with an arrow and then said he didn't like WuXian. But also, Zishuan got onto him too. He was like, well, you know what you did, you know what your intentions were. And Chang punched him. So I could easily see why this guy would not harbor good feelings towards Chang, WuXian, or Zishuan, which maybe is affecting now. I don't know. I just know that WuXian has a curse, and it's infected Mo Xuanyu's body a lot. We know that he gets better because we have a season 3 coming, so of course he gets better. But I'm hoping that Wangji shows up. A lot of you have noted in prior episodes, back in episode 5, and I had already recorded episode 6, so I couldn't comment on it then. But you guys were like, the flute that Wangji found is WuXian's flute that he left when Chang captured him. And I was like, oh, that makes much more sense. It's not something mysterious. But everything's mysterious in this show, so how can I be blamed? But yeah, so WuXian's in trouble. Ning gained his consciousness back, which is awesome, but that leads us to more questions, especially with who trapped his consciousness, who caused all this, who's the 2 people with Daddy Jin. We still don't know that. And then it's the penultimate episode, and we just had Zishuan die. So I'm guessing that this is the Yanli death episode. I'm guessing we're going to do it either this episode or next episode. We have to, right? And a lot of you also commented that when when he was ambushed in the last episode, it had been a year since Yanli and Zixuan got married. So he was going to maybe see baby Ling, Rulan, in that moment. So that makes a lot more sense. I'm like, okay, some time has passed. And then, of course, we had that beautiful, post-credit scene with Yanli in the wedding dress and them naming Rulan and everything. So I'm like, oh, that's a nice little bout of happiness before we kill her off. I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for it. It's one of those things, I've been ready to see this moment since episode 2 of season 1, since we saw that first flashback with her. Since the very first flashback of her and Zixuan and baby Ling, I have been waiting to see how this all went down. And now that we're here, I'm not sure I'm ready. But yeah, I get the feeling that after Zixuan's death, everything is going to go downhill. And this is all going to lead up to Wuxian's death. And then I'm wondering if we'll get Wuxian's death by the end of this season, or if they're going to lead that into the next season. I honestly thought that the flashbacks would all be over by the end of season 1, and that I didn't know what to expect in season 2, but I thought it would all take place in the present. And I've been pleasantly surprised that we've still been flashing back and forth. Like, I really appreciate that in the show, but it's not what I expected. So yeah, and then, we had that post-credit scene last episode. I looked down at the time for this episode. It says 24 minutes. And I'm like, oh God, we have an extra minute. That means things are going to happen. But yeah, so lots of questions still. Last episode didn't really answer much. It just kind of pieced together plot points that giving things a timeline. That was the big thing, is giving everything a timeline of when it happened. But yeah, I'm still wanting Wangji to come rescue Wuxian. Chang and Ling are out there somewhere. We don't know. The Ni brothers out there lurking somewhere. We don't know. Yao and Jishin are there in the city with them all. So everybody's gathered conveniently in this location. Everyone is conveniently gathered in the present. Just in time for the last 2 episodes of the season. Just makes sense, I wish that this had been 15 episodes. I really do. But what can we do, right? What can we do? I don't know. But you guys, I have rambled, and I am ready to start this episode. I'm ready and I'm not ready. So what can you do, though? So yeah, let's do this. We are going to start episode 7 of season 2 here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Okay. Fine. What? What is this episode? This episode was heartbreaking and soul crushing, but I am so hyped because the last 10 minutes of this, just things are, it's all coming together. It's all the plot points. It's all coming together, y'all. It's all coming together, and I am just okay. We've got to go back through this episode because we just have to, because it's all an elaborate scheme. This whole thing. And Wangji, bless your bones, you are sleuthing this thing. You've had 13 years to piece this together. They finally know. Wuxian knows that Wangji knows that it's him in Mo Xuanyu's body. There's all this mysterious stuff. The thing with Ning is connecting. We finally got Yanli's death to piece everything together. And oh my God. And we have 1 episode left of the season. Oh my God. Okay. All right, so we're going to piece through this thing because there's so much that happened in this episode, and I have so many thoughts and so many theories about what could be going down. So, okay, so officially, the bridge thing was a trap. So we finally got that established. We were like, where did all this resentful energy come from? Like, it was all coming up from underground and getting into that amulet. So how was that happening? And it was because of the array was under there shooting the energy up just like it did in this episode. So someone that is a demonic cultivator is in with the Jin clan in all this. And I don't think it's Yao. But we need to talk about this. So I'm walking back through the episode, and oh my god, when Wuxian wakes up and punches Ning, and just he's like of all people, because he killed 100 people. He killed 100 cultivators in that ambush. Which the fact that there were 100 cultivators at the ambush is so suspicious. And clearly an ambush, because why would you bring all those cultivators just to meet Wuxian on a bridge? I mean, so there's that. But here's the thing. Yeah, you could have killed anyone else. Why did you have to kill Zixuan? Because Zixuan was the one that got close to him, trying to help. And Ning is like, I was not in control of myself when that happened. And it's like, it's kind of Wuxian projecting. He's like, what is she supposed to do? What is her son supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Like, all this. And the moment he says, what am I supposed to do? We cut back to that symbolism, that symbolic image of the blood droplets going into, like, the little lake or the pond in the burial grounds. And it's like, oh my god. Like, because Wuxian's just projecting, like, what do I do? Like, I'm responsible for my brother-in-law's death, for my nephew's father's death. And the moment he starts, like, laughing and holding his hand, it reminded me so much of Chang on the mountain, of Chang, like, when he lost his parents, like, just delirious with everything that's gone on in this episode. And we finally get the cut to Baby Ling that was in episode 2 of season 1, and seeing them together. And it's like Wuxian's nightmare, the fact that happy family can't be any longer. And it makes it even worse because that end credit scene when he's like, oh, all your children, and they just have Ling. It's like, seeing Wuxian crying in this, and seeing Wuxian sad in this episode, the animation was gorgeous. Like, there were so many images from this episode that I think you could just make still shots of, and they would be absolutely beautiful. But I hate seeing Wuxian sad like this. Like, just, I'm glad that we have the present timeline where Wuxian is in Mo Xuanyu's body and he's so much happier and more youthful, because he just looks so worn down and ragged and heartbroken here that it's so sad to see. It's so sad. And then Qing, what a queen, what a boss, what an absolute boss. Like, I love her in this episode, and I'm so sad that she's dead. We'll get to that, because that got me misty-eyed, that whole scene in the Nightless City. We'll get to that. But she does basically the Zhetlung, the acupuncture to make him stay there. And yeah, she's like, we're going to give ourselves up and say it was us. We're going to take responsibility. And they said that they'll be merciful, but the moment she's like, we're saying our farewells, because we know, even though they say they're going to be merciful, they're not going to be. And then Wuxian just, like, stumbling and crawling and making his way. I wonder, we talked about the blood spatter. I wonder if he made his way. Well, no, the blood spatter was already there. We're going to talk about this. There's so much, like, not answers to questions, but connecting dots to questions is what this whole episode has been filled with. And I'm so absolutely intrigued, but oh my god. But then we cut to Yanli, and she's in the memorial. She has the memorial headband just like Wangji did when his father died, and she's just so sad there, like in front of his casket, and that look she gives when Wuxian, I thought for a minute she was mad, like she was really angry, because she looks back and her eyes are like not the soft eyes they usually are with Yanli, but Ning was nothing but a blade in my hand. And she just looks back and sees that he's gone. And we find out later that she wasn't mad at him, she just wanted to be with him in that moment because she was suffering and she didn't have anyone. And oh my god. So then, yeah, I'm assuming you guys have talked about why Wuxian doesn't carry a sword, and this episode, he's like, Ning was my blade, and it got out of control, and it killed these people that I loved, or that I cared for, that the people I cared for loved. And so that makes so much sense why he doesn't carry a sword. I mean, Ning basically was that for him. This episode. But there's so much going on, and there's so much I want to go back and rewatch, because, and her just giving a little boop. I never thought of Wuxian and Qing as romantic. I know I joked about that like maybe they had an arranged marriage or something, but I've never thought of them. I mean, Wuxian is clearly Wangji's only, but she's kind of like a big sister to him. She's like an adopted sister, or she becomes like an adopted sister, just kind of like Ning becomes an adopted brother to Wuxian. So I love their dynamic in this episode, and it's so tragic because then she dies, and it's like, oh, and that, I'm sorry and thank you. Those were the words he said to Ling that everyone, that his father talked about, that Fang Mian talked about, that got me too. Like, that's why he connected that back. And the fact that he said that to Ling, he was not only saying he was sorry on his behalf, but using the words that Qing told him. So good. And these posters, these wanted posters that they had, the wanted posters, they made her look like such like a wretch, and she's not. But him seeing that they're going to execute them publicly got him, you saw his eyes change to red. And I find it kind of creepy that they meet back at the Nightless City where all this went down and so many of their own clan members died. Like, I get they're paying tribute, but it's still kind of weird. But, so, Shishin, Wangji's brother, is like the most solemn and not soft that we've ever seen him in this episode. Like when old Daddy Jin here is doing the toast. I mean, the Ni brother obviously is pretty solemn, but so is Wangji's brother. And I'm not used to seeing Shishin like that, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And then, of course, they bring out Ning with the seals. And I want to talk about that because something was up with that. So I'm like, I'm also like, how did they get the seals? The seals are like a demonic arts thing. So, and I get that they established back in the first season, like episode 1 and 2, that the cultivators kind of took Wuxian's creation and made it their own. So I'm assuming that's what they've done with Ning here, is that they've made these seals. But there's something about that. And so I paused it here, and we can see that it looks like Yao is the one bringing up the ashes. So Yao is the one, which it makes sense. Zixuan would be Yao's brother as well, so he probably has he obviously has a personal stake in this too, of being angry that his brother has died. But, oh, the ashes. I thought they were going to execute her like in front, but they did it off screen. And it's so sad because it's like Ning was killed off screen, and then we find his body, and they don't even give us this. They're like, nah, we burned her. And they were just so disrespectful and scattering her ashes and showing her getting burned alive. Like, oh my God. Nope. If you've ever watched Game of Thrones, it reminded me very much of a character that gets burned alive, and it's not good vibes then either. And poor Ning, he like is so sad because it's his sister. And then, okay, Daddy Jin says that they're going to kill the rest of the Winds. And it's like, you knew that was coming. You knew they were going to lay siege to the rest of the Wind clan and the burial mounds. They were going to get the women and children. You knew that. But then the moment he says, we're also going to kill Wei Ying, Cheng and Wangji are like, wait, what? That wasn't part of the memo. And I'm like, what'd you guys think they were going to do to Wei Ying? Of course they were going to kill him. And I like that it's Wangji that steps up and is like, let's not do that. Wangji like immediately comes up and he's like, clan leaders, I think that maybe we should reconsider. And then the flame turns green, which we're going to talk about that because oh my God, the visuals of the birds and the Yiling Patriarch and the green fire is so iconic now. Chef's kiss, like this shot when he's like, what a noble and righteous clan. And that lighting on him, the moonlight on Wuxian, there's so many good images of him, but he's in such pain, like he's so sad and angry and like all this resentful energy surrounding him. It's heartbreaking. Because it's like, I want my chaotic gremlin back, and it's not here, and it doesn't look like it. It's really sad because it looks like in Wuxian's final years, he was so sad and just hopeless that I'm glad we have the present. I'm glad we have the present to show us him in Mo Xuanyu's body and him being happy and more like he used to be before the Ewing patriarch business and the amulet and everything. So, and then he's trying to, he's very intimidating in this moment, but his eyes aren't red yet. He's still in control, and he's trying to figure out, okay, who's setting me up? Because somebody's setting me up in all this. Like, and the Jin clan leader is like, well, your words are useless and meaningless. And, okay, and for a second, the wording on the talismans flickers. Like it's gonna, like it's flickering like it's about to break, right? And then we cut back, oh my gosh, we cut back to WuXian's face, and that line, and you thought he'd give up his life to atone for his sins. Oh my gosh. But he's like, I came here to figure out who put the curse on Uncle Jin. Because all this started because someone cursed the Jin uncle. And someone cursed the Jin uncle. And if that hadn't happened, none of this would be on the table. But he's like, it wasn't me, so I want to know who it was. And I do appreciate that Chang, you can visibly see Chang be upset when Wuxian's like, I will take full responsibility for my crimes if you spare those people. And Chang's like, no, like Chang, for as much antagonism as Chang has towards Wuxian, at the end of the day, it's still his brother, and he does still care for Wuxian, at least at this point. Now, after Yanli dies, probably not, because he's going to blame Wuxian for killing his only family that he had left, with the exception of Baby Ling. So yeah, after, I'm sure that we don't get to see it, but I'm assuming in episode 8, I'm wondering in episode 8 if that's when we're going to see Wuxian's death, or if they're going to save that for season 3. Because I feel like if it was season 2, it should come full circle and end with us seeing Wuxian's death. Because this whole episode has been leading us through these flashbacks to connect all the dots, and the final dot would be Wuxian's death. But I don't know if we're going to get that next episode or not yet. I've got to think about that. But at this point in time, before Yanli's death, Chang hates the Winds. He's trying to be the Yang clan leader, and he's not happy about Wuxian's actions, and he's complied with Wuxian and banished him. But in that moment when Wuxian's like, I'll take responsibility, you can see that flicker in Chang's expression where he's like, no, this wasn't all on you. Don't do that. Because he's like, I don't want you to get hurt. But he's like, I want to find out, uncover the truth behind the ulcerating curse. And that's when there's this explosion. And Wuxian's like, what? Because on the surface, for anybody else standing there, it would look like Wuxian caused this. Like it was Wuxian's fault. But Wuxian's like, what's going on? And then somebody says the ghost general went berserk. But when we look back at Ning, he's fine. He hasn't gone berserk. Like his veins aren't protruding. He's just like, oh, I got free somehow. Like, he doesn't look crazy. And then this is the shot. The shot is of Ning slicing him that we saw in the flashback. That was the last thing that Ning ever saw, was Ning slicing him. But unlike the flashback, in Ning's mind, the other clan members aren't in a row standing in front of him. Ning's kind of like just in the moment doing it. So we've established that some of these memories have been tampered with, and some of them are not fully reliable. So I'm wondering if the image that Ning saw in his mind of the Ni clan leader, slashing him and all the clan members behind him, if that was a tainted memory. Because he had those pins in his head. So I don't know. But this is the one image we're like slowly piecing together all these memories and these images and piecing it all together one by one. Set up a battle array. Don't let him leave this place alive. So here's the thing. So this is where things get crazy, right? So this character shows up smirking like a fiend, hair pulled up that we can see. And does the thing with the finger and utters something, and the flames turn blue. And I have so many thoughts. And then we see this array that we found out is exactly the same array that was on the mountain, that was under the bridge. Okay, so, and then WuXian's losing control. So, I have so many theories, because it's not Yao. Because I was wondering, they've established that someone is a demonic cultivator. Someone has the ability to be a demonic, to do the demonic arts just as well as WuXian, if not better. So, who is it? There's a mole. There is a rat. There is a mole in all of this. That someone in all of these cultivators is a demonic arts user. And we have to figure out who it is. So, I thought for the longest time this season that it was Yao. I was like, oh, it's Yao. Yao's involved in all this. He's in the Jin clan. It all makes sense. But Yao's fighting, and we see him fighting, and his hair's down. It's not pulled up. So, I don't think it's him. But I'm like, could it be Ni? Is it little brother Ni with his hair pulled up? I don't know, that face doesn't really look like has been below the nose. Is it the Lan clan member? Because here's the thing. The flames turned blue. And blue is the Lan clan colors, right? So, is it that guy? Is his name Shishu or something? That was back in episode 9 of season 1 in the water turtle cave? Is it Shishu? Is it him? Is he the one behind all this? Because, I mean, we don't see the top of his face, but then why was he in Jin clan robes if it was him? Why, if it was him, why was he in Jin clan robes unless he'd already defected at that point and was just borrowing the robes to fit in to do this attack? Because he knew WuXian would come, because it's Qing and Ning. Or is it the younger Ni brother? Or the whole thing that's confusing all this is that we've established from the first episode of season 2 that Yao is an actor and he can change his appearance. So I'm like, was he there on the battlefield and then, but no. We know that someone that was there that night of the siege, we know someone was there, that they are responsible for everything. They are responsible for Zixuan's death because of the array. They're responsible for this. Wangji, we'll talk about the seal, thinks that maybe they might be responsible for WuXian and the seal breaking. There's just a lot in this episode. and then of course then we have Wangji and WuXian, and they try to make it be like this, oh, Wangji versus WuXian, but Wangji has no desire to fight WuXian whatsoever. He's like, I'm trying to save you from yourself. I'm not fighting you. And it looks like they're about to have a battle, and then we see Yanli, and I'm like, why is Yanli there? Why is she in the middle of all of this nonsense? I don't imagine she would want to attend a public execution. The only things I can consider are Chang's there, so she wants to be with her brother. Or 2, since it's her husband that they're honoring, she's there as well to, back him up and be there for him. But yeah, and then WuXian notices her, and Chang notices. So Chang knows that WuXian didn't directly kill her. And we've established that Chang didn't directly kill WuXian. So Chang might have been present when WuXian died. I'm glad that they destroyed the tiger amulet, because honestly, the tiger amulet is so problematic in this season that I'm glad WuXian destroyed it and he finally figured out, oh, maybe this one artifact is really, really bad. I'm wondering if that's what killed him. If to destroy the tiger amulet, you had to give up your life. I'm wondering. I really hope by the end of this season we get WuXian's death in the flashback, but I don't think we are. But that their faces when Yanli gets hit, both Chang and WuXian, it's rough. And she got stabbed in the back, and for a second I was like, oh, well, she can live through that. 'Tis a flesh wound. But then she gets impaled, and she did it saving him. That's the kicker. She did it saving him, to rescue him from everything. And of course, sad WuXian, this episode was really hard, because just seeing him like this, and she's like, don't leave me again. And that's his nightmare, is that the blade that we've seen in the flashbacks. And of course, all that resentful energy just floods him, because how could it not, right? And this is where I got confused. It was a really good surprise. Nice job on the show's part. But when the screen goes black and Wuxian wakes up and he hears Wei Ying, I thought that Wangji had taken him off screen and we were going to have like an aftermath thing. But we cut back to the present. And he used Wei Ying. He used his name. So I was like, wait, but that's Mo Xuanyu. So he's letting him know that he knows. And I like that he absorbs through the clarity bell the curse. That's what I thought he was going to absorb it somehow, but the clarity bell makes sense. And oh my god, yeah, we have to find that fiend that Jingling clashed with. Your body's weak, eat something first. And so he's like, where'd you get the bell? And the bell, the fact that it's the one that fell off of his robes back on Mount Yiling, and he's kept it for 16 years. I mean, and he gives it back with that with the flute. I'm curious why Wuxian didn't keep the clarity bell, because it also, like, indirectly hand-holding, like he puts that in Wangji's hand. I'm like, why did you give it back? Unless, some of you have speculated on here that Mo Xuanyu doesn't have a core either, that Wuxian doesn't have a golden core, and neither does Mo Xuanyu, and that's why his body was able to accommodate Wuxian, and that's why he doesn't need the bell, and that's why he can use the demonic arts so freely, because he doesn't have that core. So I wondered if that was the case, but you helped me find so many things I thought I'd lost. And I also wonder if maybe he doesn't want the clarity bell because it's a connection to him being Wuxian, and he wants to leave that behind. Like he says, he only wants to look forward into the future, and keeping that talisman with him would be just a reminder of the past, and he doesn't want to do that. That's what I wonder. Like, this is, why are these all vegetarian dishes? And Wangji's like, you have to avoid spicy foods and alcohol to heal up. And he's like, aww. Yeah, and then I love this. He says, like, Lanzan, you figured out my identity. And I like that he asks him how he knew, but Wangji doesn't answer. He doesn't answer because I summon Wei Ning or anything like that. And he gives him a little piece of food. And Ning has ran off, which is problematic, but he doesn't answer his question. And then Wangji says, he talks about, he's like, I had these hallucinations. He's like, but what if they weren't hallucinations? And I was like, well, how do you know what was going on? But then, okay, look. When Wuxian absorbed the curse from Ling, he shared the memories. It was kind of like a mind meld. They shared memories. So, did Wangji see that flashback the same as Wuxian? Did he see the same thing Wuxian did? Because if he did, that opens up to where Wangji could see a whole nother perspective on this event again, to see the array thing. That would make a lot of sense. Oh, if he was seeing Wuxian's memories too, when he was hallucinating because he was absorbing the curse through the bell, that's why. That would make a lot of sense. And then the array. It's the same thing that was under the bridge. It's the same thing that was on the mountain. The spirit lure array. To lure in all that resentful energy to get into the tiger amulet and, oh my god, and just make him go off the rails. And then establishing that. Now the restriction seal thing is weird. Because are they establishing that someone took Wuxian's blood and they smeared it to erase the seal? Because he established way back, I think in episode 4 or 5, that his blood's the only thing that can undo the curse. That can undo the lure. So, also the fact that Wangji visited the burial mound a year after the siege, which would have been around the time Wuxian died. I'm like, was Wangji just visiting all the places Wuxian had been out of grieving? Because that's sad. But he notices the blood stain. So I feel like Wangji's implying it's Qing and the Winds that did it. But Wuxian's like, no, they would have no reason to. Why would they do that? And plus, the timeline doesn't match up. And so they've established that somebody set up this trap on the bridge. Someone set all this up. Someone knows that WuXian was going to lose control with the amulet. And it's all been an elaborate ruse. And WuXian is so ticked off because it's caused his brother-in-law and his sister to die and his brother to turn on him. Yeah. So the question is who? And why? Why and what for? Like, I'm so curious, like, what the condition, like, why did this happen? I'm just like, why does, and then this window opens on its own, and then the episode ends. So I'm like, why do this scheming against WuXian? Why? I feel like the answers that I got this episode were answers that I already knew, like, oh, Yanli dies. Well, I already knew she was going to. And then there weren't really any answers to the plot, just connecting dots, like the thing about the knee slice, and the thing about baby Ning, and the thing about the whole array. Like, all these dots are connecting, but I still have more questions than I started out with. So, and here's the thing, the next episode is the last episode, so of course we're not going to get any answers. Of course we're not. I've got so many theories. I'm still suspicious of Yao. I'm still suspicious of the younger Ni brother, and I'm suspicious of this former Land Clan member. It would make sense if the former Land Clan member was, or Shishu, was the one involved, because it shows him walking next to Daddy Jin. It shows him walking next to Daddy Jin in that flashback. Huh. I can't believe Qing died like that this episode. I have so many questions, and if it were me, if I were guessing, I would say, okay, we're going to end the flashbacks next episode and end with WuXian dying, and that's going to be what we close out the season on. And it's all going to come back full circle. We're going to have WuXian dying, and the past getting left behind, and us starting the new chapters in season 3 with Mo Xuanyu in this new body. So, but I don't know, guys. I didn't know what all was going to happen this episode, and so much happened. And so next week is the final episode of the season. I don't know what to do after that. I mean, we've got so much. We have the audio drama, the novel, Modao Zushi Q. We have the Untamed. There's a lot of Modao Zushi content left to get through, so I'm not worried. And it's going to tide us over until season 3 comes. But I don't know how y'all waited a year, or have waited 2 years. I don't know how y'all have done it, because if you told me we're going to end out this season like this, and that's what we're going to do, and there's still all these unanswered questions that everybody's just had to stew on unless you've read the novel, I don't know how you do it. But I guess we'll talk about the final episode next week and about what happens after that. So, man, this episode was a lot, but I'm so hyped, and I need to think about these theories and think about things. Please don't spoil me. I'm so excited to go into the last episode blind and see what's going to happen. It's going to be good. But I am curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of the episode. Please no spoilers, but please let me know. But in any case, please have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Take care. Thank you for watching this. And I'm going to stew a while and think about this episode. But I will be back next week with the season 2 finale of Modao Zushi. Bye.